Okay, that's fine. And go. Okay, so some of the basic settings that we can tweak on Outlook are just up here on this cog. And again, you've probably done some of this, so don't worry if you've already done some of this content. So if I go to the basic settings here, this is where you can change the color of the sort of the banners and everything. If you want the big unicorn things on there. Now you'll notice when you do change these, it does change the color of sort of the highlight of your email over to the left and the actual numbers on your inbox and things like that. So choose whichever one works best for you. There is further view settings where you can put it into like compatibility mode, where it puts it very simple or black with yellow text and things like that. So some people, I've got colleagues that are dyslexic and they set it like that and it works a lot easier for them. So you can kind of tweak how it looks. I tend to keep to the sort of the dark ones. I think it kind of sticks out a little bit more. So you can choose your tiles. Now some of you may have already been using this, but you can switch on dark mode. Okay, so very dark. I don't particularly like this one, but after a long day of using Office 365, well, just using the computer, towards the end of the day, it's quite nice to put that on. It's a bit easier on the eyes, but generally I tend to keep it on the normal mode. If you've got the apps on your phone, you can do the same on those as well. So dark mode works quite well on those. There's also this thing called focused inbox, and some of you may have started using this. So if I just show you over here, so I've got focused over the top of my emails, and then I've got this other folder. So if I go to the other folder, it contains little notification type emails. So some of you may have started using the Microsoft planners, or maybe you've had a little look at the stream when you've recorded a meeting. So this is telling me just from this morning that my video that I recorded is finished and it's ready. So the emails I pay attention to, but it just kind of filters these notification emails out of my main inbox. So they're quite easy to manage. So when I want to get rid, I can just do Control-A to select everything and empty that folder fairly quickly. And because we've all got limitations on inbox sizes, it's quite a good little function to switch on. So you can switch it on and off as much as you like, and it'll just remove things and put them back into your inbox if you don't want to. But if you're not using it, just switch it on, give it a little try and see if it actually makes your life a little bit easier by not mixing all these sort of notification emails in with your main inbox. Okay. The other thing is obviously desktop notifications. You can switch them on and off, and we'll have a look in the main settings a little bit later as well, just to actually go further down with notifications about chat and all sorts of stuff. So the other thing you can change from this little side box is you can see from all my emails here, I've got little people's smiling faces and initials against their emails. Also with this email here, so the chief exec's blog that's just come out, I can jump straight into the PDF, and that's because I'm in the full display density mode. If you find this a bit busy, just switch on to compact and you'll see it'll just kind of neaten up those emails and show a little bit less information, so you can just see less on screen. So if you find it busy, it's quite a useful thing to do. I tend to keep it on full because I quite like just being able to jump into documents straight from that sort of email inbox section as well. You can switch around your conversation view, so newest messages are on the top or the bottom, completely up to you. And you can mess around with your reading pane and switch it to the bottom if you prefer it down there, okay, or to the right. Fairly basic. Okay, so they're just the basic settings. We'll have a look in a minute at some of the more detailed ones. What we'll do is we'll compose an email and just show some little hints that maybe you're using, maybe you're not, and you can again shout up at any time if you want to ask a question. So I'm just going to create a new message. Just get rid of my notifications as they come in. Okay, so I'm going to create a new message here. Now, what some people like or don't like is this opens up within the Outlook window. Okay, if you do want this email open separately so you can drag it around and do other things, you can press this little button here. Okay, and it just opens this blank email in its own separate little window. So you can drag that around once it finally loads and use that as a separate window to actually manage if you're flicking back and forth between things. Okay, I'll just carry on with it in the same thing here. Now, a lot of people have been looking for global address books and things like that, and it's fine. You can still access your global address list from the people button down on the bottom left hand side here, but it is very easy to just type like the first 3 letters of somebody's name and they tend to show up. Now, if they're not there or that's the wrong fill, you can keep typing and it will look for the other people, even if you don't particularly know them or haven't searched for them before. Okay, or you can click on search directory and it gives you like the top 20 results, you know, and I've only typed the word Phil. So the more you type in there, the better the search list is. What it does tend to do, because Phil's part of the same team as me, it puts Phil up towards the top of the list because it knows that I've emailed him quite frequently. It knows that, I mean, he's in the same team and things like that. The other thing you can do, and this is if you've created Microsoft Teams already, is email your entire team. So I can just type the first 3 letters of my education, training, development team, and I could email everybody within that team just by doing that. So hopefully, moving forward, this may well replace some of your distribution lists, which I know has been a bit of an issue if you've got over 500 people on them, because that's kind of the limit. So what we've had to do with some people is just kind of get them to split their current distribution lists into 2, because obviously you're just limited to 500 on those. Okay, so let me just get rid of those because I don't want to mass email everybody. I'll just pester Phil. Now I've got the 2, the CC and the BCC on my email. Now you turn those on in your settings. Okay, so some of you might not have these on there. When we go into the settings, you'll see that you can actually just view, you can turn those on or off if you want to. You can have a little from section as well, so it shows you where the emails are coming from. Okay, and then let's just create a test email here. So some of the extra functions you can do, now mine's automatically putting my signature in for me. Another thing people have lost with the sort of moving to Office 365 is the ability to do multiple email signatures. So what I've done to sort of counteract that is we've inserted these new things here. So what I'm going to use instead are templates. Okay, so when I'm creating a message, I'm going to create templates instead. So using this little 3 dotted button down here, I can select my templates. Okay, and within here I've saved a few default chunks of text that I can use really quickly. So if I didn't have my default signature in there, if I just delete that, I can just click on this one and it puts one in for me, and click on that one. Yeah, so you can use it for signatures or bulk loads of text that maybe you're repeating, and to create it is really simple. So you just click on the plus template, give it a title, and add some content. Okay, and then I can just put that in wherever I want. Okay, so that's a really useful way. If you're sending a lot of generic emails out, or you're setting up meetings and sending out those generic kinds of text, you can put big chunks of text in and then just carry on composing the rest of your email with the specific instructions that go along with it. Okay. Once you want to get rid of them, I'm just going to press this little bin icon and get rid of that completely. Okay, so templates is quite useful, and I'll show you how to add this template into your toolbar down here if you haven't got it, if it's something that you think you might use quite a lot. The other thing people have struggled to do, I've noticed all over the place, is just inserting hyperlinks. So just the little links section at the bottom there. Okay, obviously you can paste a web address or whatever link address you want in there, and then just pop the text as you want it to display in there. So it's a super simple way of just copying an address. So let me just copy, let's say I wanted a copy of my OneDrive for whatever reason. I'll jump back on there, put a hyperlink in, Control and V, as you'll all know, the copy and paste right click isn't as good as it used to be. And then you can change your text to whatever it wants to be. Okay, and there's your hyperlink. So let's have a look. I'm not going to go on like GIFs and stickers. We can all put things like that in there. You probably want to keep that to a minimum when you send in your emails. Okay. So what I'm going to do is actually attach a file, but show you how to edit the sort of access, because that's the other thing obviously that's happened is we've reduced the size of the emails that can be sent because we're trying to move forward in sending links to documents rather than sending file attachments. So if I go to the little paperclip down here, okay, and click attach, I've now got the options of browsing my computer, looking at my documents and G drives and all the rest of it, or I can browse cloud locations. Now I've moved all of my documents to OneDrive, so I'm going to go into browse cloud locations, and it shows me my OneDrive links. So let's say I'm going to attach this PowerPoint presentation. Just give it a click next. Now it will give me an option, and you can tweak these settings in your options again, whether it asks you the question. So I can share it as a OneDrive link or attach it as a copy. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this as a link because it might be a fairly large document, and instead of me sending a large attachment inside the email, this is just a link. So everybody that accesses it will be accessing it from my OneDrive, not from their own email with their own version of it. So I'm going to select OneDrive link. Okay, and you can see it uploads it just like it would with an attachment. Now, I might want you to view this document, but as you can see from the attachment here, it says recipients can edit. So I might not want that. So this little tiny drop-down arrow, I can click more actions and manage access and change it so you can only view it. Okay, so that changes it then. So it looks like you can access the document, but view only. Okay, so that's one way of adding attachments and just using this little drop-down arrow to manage access. And again, you can see the options that you've got there. Okay, you can copy the link, paste it wherever you want to, attach as a copy, so you can do further tweaks with it from there as well. Okay, so has anyone tried some of that and had any issues? Or good, glad it's all working perfectly. All right, so what I'll do is I'll just get rid of this little temporary email. Okay, and you'll notice whenever you're creating an email, if I suddenly create another one, it will keep these as little drafts down at the bottom here, so I can flick between emails that I'm maybe composing or have half done and need to go back to, or I can just press the cross button and get rid of it altogether. Okay, so we'll have a look at some of the sweeps and the rules and the tools that you can use to kind of help manage your inboxes as well. Because again, because we've got reduced inbox sizes, it's more important to keep on top of actually managing your emails and getting rid of the clutter and things like that. So if I select this message from the chief exec there, I could maybe set up a new sweep rule that helps me keep on top of these, because obviously we get a lot of these emails from trust notifications and corporate comms from the chief exec giving us information. Now, it's, you know, if they've got attached files and things like that, these all add up. Okay, so I might want to make a rule that maybe tidies them away into a particular folder or deletes them but keeps the latest one. And to do that, I can use this little option at the top called sweep. So when I've got an email selected, I can click on sweep and it'll give me the following options. So for messages from the chief exec, I can choose to move all the messages from the inbox folder to a separate folder, or I can create new folders from there as well. So you can create a new folder and set up this kind of sweep rule as soon as you like. I can also choose to move all messages from this folder and any future ones from the chief exec to a particular folder. Again, if I've got useful documents or if I just want to delete them, I can make it so it just deletes them and all future ones. Not advisable. Okay, or I can always keep the latest message and move the rest from the inbox folder to this location, or again, any location I choose. So that'd be a good way of deleting all the old ones, but always keeping the latest one. Okay, so that might be a useful rule to set up for things like trust notifications or whatever, if you're getting a lot of sort of generic kind of emails sent through. One that I've got set up for my own personal emails is trust notifications. I've got a folder, I don't know if you can see from the left there. I've got a rule set up that moves all trust notifications into this folder. And then I've got a sweep rule set up that any trust notifications that are older than 10 days move to the deleted items folder. So my trust notifications automatically move themselves into a folder. I still read them, but then after 10 days, they'll automatically delete. So I don't have to keep on top of deleting all these trust notifications that come through. They go and sit through in their particular folder, and then they automatically delete after a little while. Okay, so that's a good way of keeping on top of those emails that tend to be fairly larger sizes because they've usually got attachments within them, and you've probably got a shed load of them in your own inboxes anyway, so it's a good idea to try and get rid of some of those and just keep the ones that you're interested in. So sweep will run once a day. No matter what rule you set up, it runs once every single day, so it's slightly different to rules. Rules just runs as the occurrence happens, whereas sweep will run sweep on its own once a day, whether you like it or not, until you switch it off. Okay, so I'll show you a few other quick bits from the inbox here, but I'll show you where you could switch off your sweep rule if you decided you don't like it as well, because it's just in the view all Outlook settings section when we get there. Okay, so some of the things I tend to put onto my emails to help kind of just organize myself a little bit better is, so let's select this TMS one, for example. So I use the categories. Now, we used to have categories, but it just had a little coloured square that used to put it against it. Whereas you can create your own categories. Now, if you've never used this before, what you can do is select your email, choose categories, and you can do manage categories. And this will show you all of the categories. Now, they will generally have color-coded ones that you can do. Now, you can just delete all those and create your own versions. So I've just set some up. So if I have anything that is to do with training admin, I'll flag it with this particular color. Any emails to do with Office 365, I flag it with a particular red one. Personal stuff with this turquoise, so on and so on. So you can create your own categories. So it's just this new stuff, and then click on the tab itself, and you can choose whatever color you want from there. Now, the benefit of doing that is if I've selected this email and I set it to, let's say, an Office 365 category, just for example, it puts the little Office 365 color badge against the email. Now, if I want to see all my Office 365 emails, I just have to click on that and it will filter and show me all the Office 365 emails in one place. So it's just a really quick, easy way to organize things. Now, maybe you're wanting to look at your current emails, you could then create a folder and actually just drag and drop them all into a particular folder on the left hand side. Okay, so it's another way of just organizing things a little bit quicker. Okay, and you can mark them as more than one category as well. Okay, so you'll notice as I'm ticking these along, it'll add them to those. Just as easily, I can select it and remove them. Okay, so categories is quite a useful little function. It was in the old version. You may have looked at the new ones, but it's quite a good thing to get into. The other thing you may have noticed, which is a massive improvement, is the search functionality. So if I want to search for any email with the word champions, hit enter. That's how fast your search is now. So you don't have to wait for that loading wheel of doom to kind of spin around for a bit and then crash out. So it's, again, much improved search function on there. Okay, now some of the other little options I've got, when I've got this email selected, you may have noticed these little icons against your emails. So I can quickly move this to and then select another folder that I've got selected or create a new folder from there. Okay, I can quickly send it to the deleted items. I can flag it. And then when I click off it, you'll notice it'll have gone yellow. Now, I'll show you in a minute or two this to-do section. Your flagged emails will all show up in this to-do section, and that's where you can set reminders and pop-ups to remind you on certain dates for things, which we'll talk about as well. The other thing I've got is the little pin icon. So if I click this pin, you notice it'll jump above the new emails that I haven't actually read yet. So this will stay pinned to the top of my emails, even as new emails come through. So often if I haven't answered an email yet, or I'm waiting for some information, or it's just something I've been particularly slow with, I'll pin it up at the top and then I can access them later, know that I've still got to do it. It's a nice little reminder to actually jump back onto. Okay, so as well as having these four little icons here, so if I select this email, again, if you look in the top right hand side here, you've got even more quick actions that you can customize. Now you choose which of these actually show up on this sort of email panel. So there's a little like. Sounds stupid, but we do actually use the like emails quite a bit just to kind of respond to an email without having to respond to it. So if I've sent an email to everybody saying, oh, can you all make sure you go out to the wards today and train the doctors and give them some support on the wards, I don't need everybody in the team emailing me back saying, yes, Adam, yeah, no problem, yeah, no problem, from 5-6 different people. They can just hit the like button and I know they've acknowledged it without actually having to have another email back just cluttering up the inbox. Okay, again, I can open in new windows. You can print. Talking of printing emails, some people have been asking about saving them to PDFs and things like that. If I click on the print button for this email and click on print again, okay, if you do want to save emails as PDFs, you'll notice when you look at the destination, it will have your printers, but if you drop it down, you've got save as PDF there. Okay, so that's a useful way of saving and storing information elsewhere if you need to retain the emails that are in your inboxes, especially if you're having a declutter, but you think there's things you want to keep. Make yourself a big archived emails folder in your OneDrive and start saving these as PDFs and then moving them across to there is a good idea. Okay, so again, that was just on the print button and on the destination, select save as PDF.
Unknown participant is now exiting.
Okay, right, well, okay, so we'll have a look at some of the further settings now. So I'm going to click on the cog button again, but this time go down to view all Outlook settings. Okay, so we'll start at the top and work our way down. So the first, we're on the layout options, and these are the sort of the basic settings you see on the first menu before we jump to this. If I jump onto compose and reply, obviously that's where you'll be putting your signatures into. You'll have to copy and paste them from old emails to move them into the new version if you've not done so already. And again, you can select if you want them to automatically be included in all your new emails or not as well. So you can switch that on or off. Obviously, if you're using multiple ones, use that templates option I showed you, and just obviously don't put them to the auto insert. You can change the settings in your email to change the font and things. Keep it fairly standard. We don't want lime green text with papyrus or anything like that. Keep it fairly standard. You all know that people that send you those emails and you have to kind of decrypt them. It's not fun. Scroll down a bit further. You can look at things like the undo send. So recalling messages doesn't work anymore unless you've got the fully installed version of Office 365, which most of us don't. So what I've got set up on mine is a 5-second delay. Okay, so every time I create an email and press send, it gives me up to 5 seconds to change my mind. So if I've written an email that says, please see attached, but then I forget to attach it and I press send, I've got 5 seconds to quickly undo it, and it keeps the message, and I'll do one in a second, but it gives me 5 seconds to sort of cancel it and carry on editing it if I need to. You can set it up to 10 seconds, which is fine, completely up to you. I just find it a bit annoying having to wait 10 seconds to actually send an email. Sometimes 5's long enough when you just want to send something, but it is a useful little feature. You'll see things like joyful animations. If you write happy birthday or congratulations, it just does a little poof of confetti. When you open those up, you can switch them off if you want to down there. Okay, so that's compose and reply. Let's have a look at the rules that I've got set up. So if you've migrated already, which you will have done as champions, some of you have got Outlook, some of you haven't yet. This is where it'll drag across your rules. Now, the message we got originally was that we'd have to remake them. So your rules might have copied across, but they might not work properly. So test them out. But if you want to create new rules, it's fairly easy. Okay, so if I just click on add new rule and I'll just call this test for now. And then you add a condition. So maybe any emails from, and I'll just use Phil as my guinea pig. Any emails from Phil Turner. I'm going to add an action of move to and then Office 365 folder. So any emails that come directly from Phil will automatically go into my Office 365 folder that I've got set up on the left hand side. So I've got a few rules set up. If I just click back, I'll just discard that one. So I've got one set up that moves any trust notifications into trust notifications folder. I've got one set up so any ALF forms, so we use ALF forms for our annual leave requests, that automatically goes into my annual leave folder, because you get about four messages per annual leave request. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. So any annual leave requests that come through, they will flow through into this particular folder. So again, I'm not managing annual leave as it comes in. When I've got a batch of them to do, I'll manage them in one go, so I'm not having to sift through my inbox to find all of these annual leave requests. I have the same thing set up for expenses. Whenever any of my staff need to actually put their expenses through, they will automatically feed through into this ePay folder. Yes, I do need to rename it to the new version. So it just makes me kind of use Outlook a little bit differently now. I actually manage like my annual leave and all the ePay things. I manage them in chunks rather than do them in between bits. Okay, so if I just jump back into all Outlook settings and jump into my rules. Now, obviously, some of these are old, so I can just bin these off and click OK. Okay, bin that off, click OK, and it's just super easy to just get rid of them if you need to. Okay, or if you just want to tweak it, you can edit the rule with the little pencil feature as well and just manage it from there. Now, I've also got sweep, because I've set up a sweep rule. Okay, that's where you can switch it on or off, or you can delete it from scratch as well. Okay, so if you want some help setting up sweeps and rules for your own specific inboxes, let me know afterwards and we can have a quick chat if there's anything specific you want to try and set up. Okay, so further down from here we've got customize actions. Now this is where you can add those little icons to your email. So that the first ones you see on the email when it first comes in on the left hand side, you can only have 4 of those on each email. So you can select whichever 4 you particularly want from there. Then when you scroll down, you've got the rest of the message surface ones. So that's where you can select from all of the ones you can see here, depending on what kind of functions and features you prefer to have. Okay, so you can set as many as you like on those, but it will only show, I think, about 6 or 7, and then it shows the 3 dots, and it shows the rest on the 3 dots after you've done that. And then if we scroll down a bit further, that's where you can add in, so I could get rid of GIFs and smiley faces, get rid of showing templates, and you can see my toolbar here, it's being customized as we do it. It starts to add these little icons in. So my templates, that's where it has sort of auto inserted those chunks of text before. That's quite a useful one just to add on there. It's that little Harry Potter lightning bolt on a bit of paper. Okay, make sure you save in between screen moves. So once I've finished my customize actions, make sure you press save before you move across. And just a little bit further down, this is where your out of office replies are going to be. So you can just switch them on and off from in there. Okay, again, if you've got the mobile app, you can turn these on and off from the mobile app as well. So you can manage your out of office from your phone if you've got the new Outlook app on there as well. So I'll just go over to the general settings a second, just give you a brief look. You may have, again, already looked at these. And this is where you can kind of look at your notifications, where it plays your sounds and messages arrive, your desktop notifications about chat and things like that, so you can manage notifications from there. You will have to manage your notifications in Teams as well because they act a little bit differently, just to kind of sync those up if you want it to be sort of quiet mode and things like that. Okay, any questions about your main settings, or anyone had any problems so far? Silence is good. Okay, so let's move on and have a look at some of the little features which I've found fairly useful. So across the top from the search bar, I can open up chat messages. So if I was opening an email from somebody, so maybe I was having a chat with Marilyn and I wanted to have a chat message with her, I could click on chat and it would force me into Teams and open up a live chat between the two of us. The other thing that's quite useful is this little My Day function. So if I give that a click, okay, and what this does is shows you your calendar alongside, a bit like the old one did, kind of. It shows you your calendar alongside a little to-do list. Now you can change the settings on here as well. So rather than gender, I prefer to kind of have it on day mode, so it kind of shows things in that mode. The other thing you can switch to is the little to-do list. So you can make yourself tasks and reminders. You can show recently completed. You can mark them as important and things like that. And again, I'm going to show you where you manage these from this little to-do section down here. So a few people were asking about flagged emails and how they set reminders and all that kind of stuff. So I'll go through that in a second. So yeah, so having this little My Day section is quite a quick way of just popping up in your calendar, see what you've got coming up. And you'll notice up on the top right hand side anyway, even when I don't have that open, it shows me my next meeting or what I'm in the middle of doing. So it kind of gives you that view there as well. Now, the other things to do, and a lot of people are doing this, some people are just using the Champions Forum, is the help is actually really useful on this style. So use the help and search for stuff. So if it's anything to do with your calendar, you know, search and let it bring back recent results for help in there. The other thing that's really good is the little announcements. So the what's new section. Okay, now this is, as we've said in other sessions, this is Microsoft's evergreen platform. So it's continuously changing. They keep adding things. They listen to people, and actually, you know, there's the section of Microsoft where you can suggest changes and things like that. And because it's moving all the time, they've added this what's new announcement section. So if I hover over this upgrades to groups, you can see it's actually zooming in on the screen and showing me where to go, where this new section is. Improved search, well, it'll zoom in and show you whereabouts to go and the kind of features that it does. So, you know, have a flick through what's new. If you've logged in one day and there's a new icon and you're not sure what it is, just click on what's new and it'll take you through into that particular section. Okay, that's quite a useful little feature. So what we'll do is we'll go on to calendar and we'll have a look at setting up some meetings and things like that, and then we'll have a look at the to-do section after that as well. So I'm going to jump down to my calendar. Okay, so this is my calendar of the week. I use TMS a lot, so I don't particularly put loads into my calendar because I end up with two things all over the place with content in there. Now, one thing that people were asking me about last week or on the Champions Forum was about looking at other people's views. So if I load up my manager's emails along with mine, you can see it mixes them together, and it's not the greatest view. I don't particularly like that view, but all you need to do, and you can only do this once you've selected one other person's calendar, is drop down work week and select split view, and it just puts them side by side. Okay, so obviously you can do that with as many people as you like and see their calendars side by side. I'll also show you another thing, because if you're doing that to kind of look when someone's free to book a meeting, there's a much easier way with the new section, which I'll talk about in a second. So as well as the views, obviously I can change it to monthly, and you know you can only split view during work week. You can't do it over a month. You can't do split view over a month. There's just not enough space for it. One thing I do sometimes is if I hold control and move my mouse wheel down, it will just zoom out. So you do have a bigger screen view. So if you are looking at loads of really busy calendars, you want a bit of a bigger screen view, just holding control and using your mouse wheel to just edit your zoom settings is a handy little thing. Okay. So if I want to share my calendar, let me just get rid of Laura so it's a little bit of a cleaner view. If I want to share my calendar, super easy to do now. Click on share. All right, again, I can type the name of the person I want to share my calendar with, and then I can select the extent of the sort of the content, the extent of the permissions he's got. So I can make it so Phil can edit my diary, that he can view all the details, he can view all the titles and locations, or he could just see when I'm busy. So he'd see all of these chunks, but he'd just say busy, busy, busy throughout there. Okay, so that's where you can edit the sharing, or you can delete somebody off if you don't want them to have access to your calendar anymore. Fairly easy. Now, obviously, we're in a bit of a limbo mode at the moment where some people have migrated and other people haven't, so we can't see calendars properly. But obviously, once everybody's moved across, those issues should fade away. So I'm going to create an event in my calendar here. So if I just double click on my calendar, this is fairly easy stuff. But again, when I'm creating this meeting here, so I'm going to add the title. It's got a little star next to it. If I change this to meeting, you see it changes the little charm, as they're called, meeting icon. You can click that and there's loads to choose from. So you can kind of customize things as they go in. Maybe you've got an EPMA meeting. So I'm going to keep that as, prescribing meeting. Now, what I will do as well is actually set that as a Lorenzo type meeting, and it'll color code the diary entry as it goes in. Okay, so those categories you set on your emails also pull through for your calendar as well. So I want a couple of people to join me on this meeting. So like I said before, you can put diaries into split view and you can check them and then look for dates where people are available, or you can actually just come here as your first port of call. So if I search for Phil, again, he doesn't use his diary very much, his calendar very much, because he uses TMS. But when I click on Phil, just if you keep an eye on this right hand side, okay, it's going to check his calendar and give me a green tick to say that Phil is free. All right. So if I select Laura, let's see if Laura's free, checks the calendar, she's free as well. So if I then want to book a meeting room, if I go to the room or location and click on the i3 Offices meeting room, it's checking and it's giving me the red cross to tell me no, the room isn't available. So again, this will be more helpful when everybody's on and we've got all the rooms imported across and everything, but it just tells me when the people are free and when the room's free. So if that date's no good, I could maybe change the date. It checks it, that's no good. Try another one. Okay, maybe change the time. So you can kind of tweak these. And again, there we go.
I was going to pick a Friday.
Yeah, there we go. Cheers, Luke. So yeah, you can see there that now it's checked. All the people are free and the room's available as well. So it's actually easier to do things from here rather than opening up loads of different calendars and doing it from there. You can just do it from this screen here.
Will it automatically book the room?
Yes, it does. Well, it sends an invitation, doesn't it? So Louise will tell you better than this. I've booked this room by accident several times by doing this demo. So you get a request, don't you, Louise?
I do. So I get an email saying this person wants to book the room. So what will happen is it goes tentatively into the calendar, the meeting room calendar, until I authorize it or decline it. If you try and book it when there's another meeting in there or overlaps like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it will automatically decline and you'll get an email back straight away. Otherwise, you wait for the person who has authority to authorize it and then you'll get an email back saying it's booked.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to take this off because I don't want to keep annoying Louise with fake meetings that I've done far too often recently. I'll get rid of Laura.
It's fine, I decline them.
All right, so well, when I have to do a real one of these days, it'll be, you know, Boy Who Cried Wolf and all that. Now, the other thing I can do is invite the full team. Like I said, like I did with my emails before, I can invite the entire education training development team. Now it's looking across everybody's calendars because there's about maybe 30 people in that particular team, but it doesn't give me much breakdown of sort of detail as to who's free and who's not. So it's good being able to invite masses of people that way, but you might want to use Microsoft Teams to kind of do Teams meetings for those particular type sessions. Okay, so the other thing I can do down here is if this is just going to be a calendar entry for me, I can just press save and it'll just put it into my calendar. But as most of you are probably aware, is we'll be getting rid of WebEx moving forward. So at the moment, if you've got a WebEx license, you log into WebEx, you create the WebEx meeting, you invite all the attendees, and then you send the invitation out. Whereas all you need to do now is tick this Teams meeting button. Okay, now you can create Teams meetings from within Teams, but it acts a little bit differently. So when you send it from your calendar, people get the email invitations like you used to do with WebEx and everything like that. So they'll get those diary invitations. Whereas when you do it with Teams, they don't. It just sits within the Teams channel. So this might be a preferred way if you're doing those. That's up to you, depending on how you move forward with Microsoft Teams or not. So the other thing I can do from within here is actually attach my documents. And again, drop it down and browse cloud locations. If I'm attaching documents as links, I'm not putting big giant documents into these meetings. And another thing to bear in mind is people have been struggling because somebody's set up a meeting for a mass load of people. Now you can't edit that to put your own attachments into it. So the people creating the meetings should be the one attaching the agendas and the minutes and things like that. And again, moving forward, it might be something that you want to do where you actually post a link to where the documents live rather than a separate one each time. So you might want to have an agendas and minutes folder set up on SharePoint or in a OneDrive folder that's shareable with people, and they're accessing that same link or location every time to make life a little bit easier. Because sometimes your minutes agendas aren't quite ready back before the meeting request goes out, so it might be a new way of doing things moving forward. So again, give us a shout if you have any particular problems with some of those. I know some of you have. Okay, so the other thing I can do from here is you'll notice I've got my templates bit up on the top of the screen as well. So using those same templates, again, if you're writing these same generic kind of meeting invites and stuff, you can use these to just, you know, stick in a bit of text, default text, and then keep adding to it if you want to from there. Okay, and again, you've got all your formatting options down at the bottom. Okay, again, if we look at the top, you've got all your response options. You can hide attendees list, request responses, allow forwarding, you know, mark if busy, tentative, all the rest of it. Look at your scheduling assistant in a bit more detail. But it just, this new way of kind of seeing your calendars and availability down the right hand side is a really quick, easy way of popping stuff in. Let me just pop that as today so it doesn't chuck it in for next week and I forget about it. So I click save. And there's my meeting. Now, because I've made this an online WebEx replacement Teams meeting, to join it, all I need to do is click on it and click Join Teams Meeting. Now, that would automatically launch Microsoft Teams and put me into the lobby where I can mute myself or set up my speakers and all the rest of that kind of stuff, which, again, we'll cover in the Teams sessions if you've not been on that one already. If I need to edit it for any reason, it's nice and easy. Edit down there. Okay, and I can tweak the basic settings or click on more options and open it up in full again. Okay, so again, when you're viewing people's calendars, use this drop down and use split view. It's much easier. Again, when you're creating new meetings, don't forget to tick this button. If it is going to be an online Teams meeting, which will be replacing WebEx. Now, for those of you that have a WebEx license already, you should, if I just open up my invitation here, you should get the replacement Teams add-on as well, which will give you this conference ID and toll number when you create Teams meetings. Okay, so you should get that extra if you've got a WebEx license already moving forward. Okay, so any questions about emails and calendars before we move on?
Can I ask a question, Adam?
Yeah, let's go.
The organising the calendars at the side, I've worked out how to add somebody's calendar who I wasn't able to view before, but I can't seem to shift them into groups. I can create a new group, but I can't seem to move calendars into that group or reorganise the calendars that I'm able to view on that list. So where before, when you're part of a team, it already, in the old Outlook, it kind of said all of those calendars who were part of your teams, but when we transferred over, all of the ones I'd organised myself transferred over, but not the original team that I am a member of transferred over.
Okay,
so I need to recreate it, but I can't seem to kind of move them. You can't pick and drop. Or
so has everybody in that team moved across to 365 yet?
All of them.
All of them, right? Okay. I will have to look at that separately because it's, again, I don't know until I look at them individually. Because yeah, I'm not sure if you can. I mean, you can start to color code people and things like that, but the more we start to move across to teams, you'll probably start to find there's new, better ways of working and sharing information with each other. So it can kind of, it may be that it's a pain for now, but we move across to using Teams and SharePoint calendars to kind of put content in. So give me a shout separately after this and we can have a peek. And if not, we can have a look at some alternatives that might be useful for you.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Anyone else?
I noticed on your calendar you've got reminders to check, like TMS. I use mine with a lot of reminders. In the old Outlook, you'd have an extra box which gave you a list of those reminders, and once you had done them, you deleted them. But whereas I'm looking at it now, although you get it on the right-hand side, once the time's gone, you're losing them.
So yeah, I'm going to show you that now. So this little tick button down here is the to-do list. So when I click on the tick, it will open up this, lots of cogs whirring away here. Now this kind of flags a few different things here. So I use this, you can see all my list down here. I've started using the to-do list as like a reminder for when our lesson plans are due for renewal and things like that. But what it also does is pulls through those tasks that I pulled across before on the little My Day section. But it also shows you all your flagged emails. So if I've got a flagged email here, okay, this is where you can set yourself those reminders or pick a specific date and get it to remind you on a specific date and press save. I can, add file attachments. It actually shows me the email there as well. So this is where you'll manage those from. So it did used to be in a separate area. I know what you mean. A few people haven't been able to find it, but this is where you can manage like assigned to me from, if you're using Microsoft Planners, you can look at planned tasks and things that are coming up. You can look at things that are going on today. And things that you've marked as important as well. So once you've started flagging emails and calendar things, this is where it will start to pull from. Okay, and what I've used it for, like I say, is I've made lots of new lists and assigned these tasks and things to different members of the team, set them reminders, so it will ping up for myself and the trainers when the clinician's lesson plans up for renewal and review and things like that. So it's kind of a way of assigning your own task lists, but also managing your flagged emails. So the flagged isn't quite as good as it used to be, because you used to be able to put the flag and then say it for whatever day, whereas you've got to mark the flag on an email and then come here and actually manage, the reminder, the repeat reminders, all that kind of stuff from this section within here. Once you want to get rid of it, just press the little tick button next to it on the left-hand side. You get an annoying little ping, and then it'll be done with. Does that answer what you were trying to do?
Not really.
Okay.
So it's when you're in calendars, and like I have every month I have a set list of tasks I do. Because before I'd have it on my calendars, it's how I get that then into my to-do list.
Okay, so if when you create them within here, I think it should, when you do it on repeat and you do your custom, Tell you what, give me a shout afterwards, because rather than me digging around trying to sort it out, I've only got 8 minutes left. We'll have a look at it particularly. It might be worth having a look at the new planner app that you can do as well, because that's a bit more powerful. It's a bit of a better to-do list reminder task service, which we can have a look at separately to this if you like. Okay, I'm just wary I've got 8 minutes left to show you OneDrive and go through any of that. So just before I move on to OneDrive, is there any other questions I can try and answer? Cool. Okay. Right. So let me minimize Outlook, and I've got OneDrive open. Now, another just simple task, well, simple little feature you might want to do is I've got these tabs open at the top, and every time I create a new tab, obviously I can load up SharePoint or whatever I want to. Now, for tabs, you will end up with lots of tabs. You're probably all getting a bit of tab fatigue with a different tab open for this and a different tab for that. So if I want to keep these ones open for the kind of duration of the day, what I tend to do is right click on the tab and pin it. And you'll see it makes them into these little mini tabs. And it's just an easy way of keeping everything kind of nice and neat across the top. But every time I try and open SharePoint, it will put me back into this one rather than open up a new one. Just as an extra little feature there. So from the portal, I can access OneDrive. And again, from my, also I've done on my desktop here is actually made some shortcuts that go straight to OneDrive, Teams, and all sorts of stuff. So there's, you know, you can do those on your own desktops just by doing right click, new shortcut, and obviously pasting in the addresses to where you want it to go. So with OneDrive, now some of you may have started to move things across, some of you maybe not. I've tried to move everything of mine off my computer's My Documents into the new version of OneDrive, which is just your cloud-based version of documents, really. So from here, I can obviously search my own files and folders. And again, before I moved across, I had a mass clear out of all the clutter and the nonsense to try and neaten my stuff up here. I've worked here for about 19 years now and had far too many documents from old jobs and things that I didn't need, but I've always just kept because I've never had to worry about size limitations and things like that. So I had a mass clear out and then I moved everything across. Now, if I just shrink this down a second and open up, say, my documents folder. Okay, so super easy way of moving all your files and folders is I can literally just find, say I want this folder, I'm just going to drag that across and drop it into OneDrive, and you can see it's uploading 2 items, and that will just upload my files and folders from my documents into OneDrive. So you can do that en masse, drag them, drop them, give them a few minutes, and it will just chop everything across, and there it is, OneDrive folder a few seconds ago. So moving your stuff from your current My Documents over to here, super easy. Okay, now down the left hand side there, I can choose from my files. I can look at any recent documents that I've been working on. Okay, and it'll show me all the documents I've been using recently. The best thing as well is I can go to shared, and that's where all the documents that people have sent me, they live in here. Okay, so the days of sending those file attachments and having to sift through your emails to actually find those attached documents, they actually just live within this shared section here. So we need to get into the habit of using that shared section and sharing the attachments and things like that, rather than sending the full attachment. You can also see who's edited them, when it was shared, all that kind of stuff. And when someone removes a document from sharing with you, it'll just disappear off this list. Okay, it's the same as if you shared a document with me, I wouldn't see your full OneDrive files and folders list. I would just literally go to this shared section and I would have that one particular document or folder, depending on what you've shared, within this view here. Okay, obviously you've got the bin, and then I've got my shared libraries. So because I'm part of lots of teams at the moment, and the majority of those have got SharePoint sites, these are shared libraries from my SharePoint pages. So I can go into documents, I can access all the files and folders that are within my SharePoint site as well. Okay, now eventually G Drive locations will move to SharePoint, so this is where you could have access to them from there as well. They'll be moved separately at a future date. I don't know exactly when just yet. So OneDrive is a good place to kind of just access all your content from one place. Now the other handy thing that I can do is I can click on new and create a new Word document, Excel, sheet. I can start a new PowerPoint, OneNote. You can just create them from here. So I don't have to leave and go back to the office home from the portal to do it. I can just do it all from here. Okay, you can upload files and folders individually, but dragging and dropping is probably your easier way of doing it. Now the other thing you could do from here is share files. So if I just go back onto my main files a second, so you'll notice with all my, I've got obviously my files and folders, when it's been modified, who it was modified by, the file size itself, and then the sharing column. Okay, so everything is private when it's in OneDrive. People don't have access to all of your files and folders, but you can share files or folders with people by using this sort of share selected item button. Okay, so if I go down and all these delete me later, these are the daft Word documents we're creating during the training sessions, as I'm sure you've probably seen already. So if I wanted to, oh, that is a shared one, I'll not use that. So let's use a private one. There you go, training test document. So if I decide that I want to share this document with somebody, now obviously I've shown you doing it from Outlook, so you can insert as attachment and modify it from that. Or you might just want to send a colleague, you know, this one particular document straight from your files if you want to. So if I click on the share button, okay, it's going to show me the options. Now again, I'll use Phil as my test dummy. Okay, so I'll pop Phil in there. Now, at the moment, Phil can get this this document and he could edit it and download it and all sorts. Now, I maybe don't want him to download a copy and I don't want him to edit it. It's just for view only purposes. So for me to tweak it, what I do is click on this people you can specify section just above his name, and I can choose what link settings this is applied to. So anyone with a link could edit it. Anyone in our trust with the link could edit it. People with existing access or only specific people. Okay, so I'm going to keep this to specific people, so only Phil. But I don't want him to edit it, so I untick that, and I can block him from downloading a copy as well. So when I press apply, I can then send him a message. I'm going to send him that. Phil's sat next to me, so he's going to click on the link in a second. So that link has been sent to Phil. So as soon as it pops up in his emails, it's going to say Adam Lucas has shared a document with him. He's going to click on it, and that's going to tell me when he has actually accessed that document as well. So I'll get a little notification in a second just to tell me that Phil has actually looked at that particular document. Okay, so that's quite a useful way of sharing documents with people. You can do that at a folder level or at a file level. Okay, if I've suddenly decided I don't want Phil to have access to that document anymore, I can press on the share button again. There we go, there's my notification that he's successfully accessed that particular document. Now this time I'm going to click on the three dots and manage access. Okay, and there's Phil's face down the side there. So I can drop this down and I can just remove him altogether so he can't access that document anymore. Okay, so you can manage people's access that way. I'll just do it again just to show you again. So that's on the share button. Click on the three dots, manage access. Okay, and then stop sharing. In this case, this one I made it just anyone with a link could have access, so I can actually stop sharing from there altogether. So you can manage sharing documents with individuals or people en masse, or just sharing a link to a document from OneDrive, doing it from here, and it allows you to send a little message through there as well. Okay, so that's the. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can you share them without sending them a notification? Because I had a picture before I wanted to put on my SharePoint, and I couldn't because it was private, and the only way I could share it so that it would be public was to share it with everyone, and I didn't want to share it with everyone. So I wanted to make it so I could put it on my SharePoint.
So with share, what you'd be better to do there is upload the picture into SharePoint.
Yeah.
So when you're actually doing SharePoint picture, you upload it into SharePoint and load it from there.
Right, yeah, that's what I had to do in the end. So I couldn't get it off the OneDrive. Then I had to do it that way around.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do is actually upload it to the place. It's always been like, even with old SharePoint, if you had a picture saved in your documents and you tried to make it the image, when it looks great for you when you built your page, but for everybody else it just looks like that red X with a blank there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to upload things into the SharePoint location for that to work properly.
Okay, thank you.
But again, when you're using OneDrive as well, it's about, well, how are you sharing? What are these documents you are sharing? Is it something that's better in a G Drive location or on a SharePoint page, you know, or is it a private thing that you're sharing with one person? You know, I could have a management folder here that I just share with my manager, that we could have access to all of our dealings with the rest of the staff, and only me and her can access this one particular folder. So the rest of my files and folders are private, but me and her can access this one. And then I might have another one that I share with another particular, the Lancaster branch of trainers. Now we don't work like that. We use SharePoint where you can access everything, but you can have, quite tied down specific folders from within your own OneDrives here. So I would suggest if you haven't started using OneDrive yet, just have a little practice at dragging a few of your current files and folders in there, and just have a little bit of a play with maybe sharing with your colleagues a few little test ones, just to get a feel for it, because obviously this is the way we're moving forward with files and folders, and getting used to sending link attachments rather than the full thing. So if you've got any questions whatsoever, fire away. If not, by all means use the Champions Forum or zap me a message afterwards. But that should do you for a quick overview of some Outlook and OneDrive. So hopefully there's been a few little helpful hints in there. As I say, I have recorded the video. So if you do go to the Champions team site and look at the events, I have posted a little video session up there that's got this morning's team sessions, as well as a couple of other little demo videos in there. So feel free to have a look at those, or show your colleagues haven't been able to actually join the team meeting today. All right, thanks everybody.
Adam?
Yeah.
For the restrictions on the OneDrive, can you do the same kind of sharing restrictions on SharePoint, or is everything that is on that SharePoint for everybody?
So no, this is the difference at the moment is the SharePoint that you build at the moment is Teams SharePoint. So only yourself and the team members in your Microsoft Teams can access the SharePoint content. Now you can share your SharePoint page, I think, with people that aren't in your team through the main settings, but I'd just have to double check that with Dren.
I just wondered whether, in terms of for different people in the same group, whether you can have sharing restrictions. So everybody is still part of the team, but you're kind of sharing some things with some part of the team and other things with not.
I don't think you can. I think the whole kind of purpose of Teams is it's very open. So, you might want to have all your generic files and folders within SharePoint, but then have a separate OneDrive folder that is tied down to yourself and selected people.
Okay, lovely, thank you.
No problem. I'm just looking at some of your messages. How can we organise calendar groups? Yeah, we'll chat about that separately. Holly, what are you saying? Why can't they just fit on the screen properly when you split? Yeah, tell me about it. I don't know. If you mouse scroll, it doesn't zoom. You can look at the zoom settings, Holly, on if you look at the Chrome browser itself on the settings, you can modify it all from there. She's not on the thing now. I'll message her separately. All right. Thanks, everyone. And so if you've got any other questions, feel free to zap me a message afterwards. Thank you.